Now available in paperback and Kindle. Vampires stalk the darkness of the Eternal Night. Get your copy of Eternal Night in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.com. A white man from Wisconsin has been arrested and charged with the murder and dismemberment of a black woman who he went on a date with.
Anderson is formally charged with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilation, and arson. A criminal complaint shows on April 1st, Sade Robinson and Anderson went on a date at Twisted Fisherman just west of downtown. Court documents show that Sade's phone was tracked, and it shows her location at Twisted Fisherman and then at Duke's on Water. Court documents also detail her phone was tracked to the area of Anderson's home. After being at Anderson's home for approximately 3 hours and 19 minutes. Her phone was then traced to a park in River West for about a half hour. Then court documents show her phone was pinged near Warnemont Park, where the severed leg was found early last week. Within the criminal complaint, authorities say the severed leg did belong to Sade Robinson. In addition to finding the severed leg, authorities say they also found a foot and human flesh, along with Sade's clothes she was wearing, which were inside her burned car. Inside the courtroom this morning, Anderson's attorney tried to get the intentional homicide charge thrown out. He stated that he didn't believe there was enough probable cause for the intentional homicide charge. The judge denied that motion and says there is enough probable cause for the intentional homicide charge. Defense also asked for Anderson's bail to be taken down to $500,000. Sade Robinson's family spoke with us briefly after the court appearance.
Sick son of a is gonna pay. This is justice for Sade. Who the would do something like this to my beautiful baby? She hurt nobody.
Watch breaking news on YouTube. Subscribe to ABC7 Chicago Eyewitness News.
Now, in this disturbing alleged incident, 19-year-old Sade Robinson was excited to go out on a date with Maxwell Anderson, a 33-year-old white male bartender. And Sade Robinson started to go out on this date with Maxwell Anderson at a local fish restaurant, and eventually, after going out on this date, they eventually went to his home, and Sade Robinson never was heard from again. And after not hearing anything from Sade Robinson after going out on this date, her parents quickly contacted police, which tracked her through her cell phone, and as they were tracking her through her cell phone, they soon started to find human remains, such as a severed leg, which DNA proved to be belonging to Sade Robinson. And they soon started to find human remains at 3 other locations by April 5th and April 6th, and they're still trying to confirm that these are possibly Sade Robinson's remains. And after finding these remains and then going to the home of 33-year-old Maxwell Anderson, they soon found what they called a sex dungeon with alleged blood on the wall and all sorts of disturbing things inside of the home. And after finding these things, they arrested Maxwell Anderson as a person of interest in the disappearance of Sade Robinson, and then eventually charged him with first-degree murder and mutilation of a corpse. Now, the police are seeing this as a very disturbing, isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of the tragic death of 19-year-old Sade Robinson, it definitely fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis, and sadly the pattern that possibly led to Sade Robinson falling into this situation fits the pattern and profile for single black women that I talk about in my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. Now, it's clear to me from listening to the story of what happened to Sade Robinson that Maxwell Anderson was a textbook beta male, like I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis, and his behavior definitely fits the pattern and profile of what I talk about in the chapters the sexual frustration of the beta male and the sexual deviancy of the beta male. Because when it comes to the beta male wants to live a double life, and what they want to do is have a smooth world with no problems, conflicts, or obstacles, where they look like the good guy on the outside. However, what they want to do is go to a place I call the secret world. And in the secret world, this is the place where they live in a rose-colored reality where they feel safe about expressing their natural masculinity and expressing their natural sexuality. And when it comes to these men, when they live in this secret world, they become detached from their feelings. And as they become detached from their feelings, what these men do is they become very indifferent to the regards of other people in their lives, and that's what makes it extremely dangerous to get involved with a relationship with this kind of man, because this man doesn't see a woman as a person. No, when it comes to these types of males, whenever they get involved with women because of the dysfunctional way they have been raised regarding relationships, they become detached and they only see women as objects to be able to participate in their fantasies in the secret world. And in the secret world, they see women as objects they can go out here and use for their deviant sexual fantasies. And that's what I believe would happen here with poor 19-year-old Sade Robinson. She couldn't really read this guy, even though she was working on a criminal justice degree, because she was just too young to be able to understand how to read people. And because she didn't understand how to read people, she basically started to fall into the whole narratives and stories that this guy was telling. And this is what I talk about in another novel I wrote called Spellbound. And that's what I think happened to Sade Robinson, this 19-year-old young black woman. She basically got mesmerized by this white man paying her some attention. And as she became spellbound and mesmerized by this white man paying her some attention, she thought that this guy was basically a good man based on the color of his skin, and really wasn't listening and instinctively thinking about the vibes from this man, because according to reports, this man was an extremely dangerous individual and had been arrested multiple times for domestic violence, and even his own family was talking about how he possibly had mental health issues and was asking him to seek mental health help. And when they asked him to do this, he assaulted his own family. And this shows me that this guy, again, was definitely on a dark road of deviancy and violence. And I believe he had serious issues with women. And as he had issues with women, this took him further into the secret world, because he had been arrested multiple times for domestic violence and had been seething with anger towards women for an extended period of time. And as he had been seething with anger for an extended period of time, he was looking for somebody to take out his anger on. And sadly, Sade Robinson, being this 19-year-old black woman, when she got involved with this white man, didn't understand that this man was seething with anger towards women. And as he seethed towards anger, he was looking for some person to become an object to express his anger and contempt towards. And as he was looking for somebody to express his anger and contempt towards, he basically ran into this black girl. And as he ran into this black girl, he ran into a person who he basically had plans for in the secret world, but on the outside wanted to make it look like he was an older man who was interested in a younger woman. And that's the danger of dealing with a beta male. You don't know whether or not this guy is going to be a predator, because they will put up a nice veneer. And as they put up a nice veneer, what they do is try to get your trust. And as they get your trust, they get you to go push past your boundaries. And that's basically what happened here to Sade Robinson. Sade Robinson sadly wound up pushing past her boundaries on this first date because she was spellbound about the whole idea of a white man paying her some attention. And as she got caught up in her feelings about this white man paying her attention, because a lot of black women and black girls, again, they get spellbound. They want to fit into the black box that's acceptable to white people. They really get emotional when a white person pays them some attention. And like the late David Carroll says, they like to deify and worship white men, not understanding that this man isn't a god in a lot of cases. No, this guy is a devil and possessed by demons. And that's possibly what's happened here with Maxwell Anderson. Based on his background, he was a white male who was basically possessed by a lot of demons as related to his issues with women. And as he seethed and simmered and boiled in anger, he was looking for somebody to take his rage out on. And sadly, Sade Robinson, this young 19-year-old college student, was the person he looked to take his rage out on. And as she went to his home, he possibly took her down into that dungeon. And he took her into that dungeon now that he had been, for years possibly, expressing his deviancy towards women. Because with these beta males, from my years of research before I wrote The Man Crisis, I learned that these guys basically go from a pattern of participating in abusing women, because for them, sexual acts are not about love and connecting and bonding with a person. No, they are about getting power, and they are about looking to go up a ladder of power. And this is why their violence continues to escalate, because they go from looking to abuse women and participate in violent sexual acts to participating in sexual deviancy to finally escalating to the point where they want to take somebody's life. And they want to take somebody's life because this is the ultimate form of power for these males. It is the ultimate form of power for these kinds of males, because they get a rush from power from seeing women humiliated. They get a rush of power from seeing women broken down. And the ultimate form of pleasure for these sick, twisted individuals is seeing the life leave the eyes of a person and then being able to destroy their body. And then after they destroy this person, take this person's life and destroy their body, what these beta males want to do in order to maintain their smooth world and maintain their freedom is look to dispose of the evidence. And that's basically what got this guy Maxwell Anderson caught, because as they started seeing these body parts come up in various areas, and they were looking for Sade Robinson, and the cell phone that she had basically showed where she was, people started to look for her there, even though Maxwell Anderson allegedly wound up burning the car that she drove, and they eventually found her clothes inside of the car and blood in the car. They found a whole bunch of evidence as related to this murder, and as that information found, they eventually found this man, arrested him as a suspect, and then eventually charged him with murder. And he wound up getting charged with murder because, as related to this case, again, the evidence looks to be basically overwhelming in this disturbing case, a disturbing case that really shows that when you're dealing with these beta males, you have to understand this is why you have to set boundaries, because these men, again, they are extremely dangerous and you can't let your guard down. And this is one of the things that many black women do as related to so-called swirling and divesting. They get spellbound and mesmerized by this white man paying them some attention. And as they get spellbound and mesmerized by this white man paying them some attention, they don't look out for intangibles like their health, their safety, or their freedom, because on a first date, no woman should be going to a man's home, because you need to set a boundary with that man to find out where this guy is. But sadly, this woman was so caught up in being mesmerized by those crystal blue eyes, that blonde hair, and creamy white skin, that sadly she put her own life in jeopardy dealing with what she thought was going to be an ideal white man, but was actually a bottom shelf Brad. And this bottom shelf Brad sadly took the life of this girl who had so much promise and was on her way to getting a criminal justice degree. And possibly, hopefully, she will be able to get some justice. And hopefully, Maxwell Anderson, if he did commit this crime, will be put in a place like a penitentiary where he cannot harm anyone. Now, some people want to say that this man was mentally ill, but from my years of research on this kind of beta male, this is not a mentally ill individual. No, this is a person with a sound mind, and they have a sound mind, but these men are very angry, they're very misogynistic, and they'll put up a facade to make themselves look like they're this kind or nice guy, but on the inside, these men are seething with rage, and as they are seething with rage, they are looking for a woman to take that anger out on. And when it comes to a lot of black women, they don't know that this white guy is basically out here single for a reason, and he's out here single for a reason at 33 years old, because most of the white women know how dangerous this guy is, because they dealt with him and his domestic violence, and that's why they don't want to get involved with him in the first place. That's what those white women knew, but sadly this sister didn't know, because she wasn't critically thinking. She didn't know that this man was on the market at 33 for a reason. No, she got caught up in this white man's blonde hair, crystal blue eyes, and creamy white skin, and thought that she could create a covert contract that would allow her to get accepted by white folks. And that basically, sadly, put her life in jeopardy. And that's why you have to really be very careful when you're dealing with people, and that's regardless of race. Again, when it comes to a first date should never be you going to his house at all, because you know nothing about that man. And when it comes to these kind of guys who are older, you gotta say, hey, there's something wrong with this dude. If he's 33 and the thing is that he's out here at working in these places, again, you gotta look at this guy and see the red flags. And that's what she didn't see about this beta male, a beta male who was a clear and present danger in the white community. They knew about him, but this sister did not. And because she didn't have anybody to sit down and talk to her, sadly, she didn't understand the danger she was in getting involved with this white dude. And that's why I look at this case and see what happens when you have a girl without a possible father. If there's no father to go out here and give his daughter guidance, she winds up in situations with dudes like this who appear to be charming on the outside, but are crazy on the inside. And sadly, this girl, again, lost her life. I mean, this was a girl who was working at a pizza place, working to try to get her degree and get herself together. She was this close to finishing her degree. I mean, it's sad to see this young woman lose her life just as she's about to get started, because she didn't have the life skills that women need as related to understanding how to vet toxic men. And that's what was sad about this situation. We have a black girl who lost her life because she got involved with a beta male man in crisis. And now people are looking at this horrible tragedy that happened to this girl. I mean, she was not only put into this dungeon and I believe tortured her and killed and her body mutilated. I mean, this just is, it's sick and twisted. And again, sick and twisted because the beta male himself is a sick and twisted individual, because he's not living in our real world. No, he's in a rose-colored reality. He's in a rose-colored reality where he's angry about women in his life, starting possibly with his mother and with the girlfriends he's had, because they don't fit into his fantasies. And this is why these guys need to be in a penitentiary. And again, these are not mentally ill individuals, because his family thought he was mentally ill. But from what I've seen with these guys, a lot of them are just bitch-made. And again, the bitch-made man, as I've talked about in many videos, again, this is a guy who was raised by his mother to buy into an unrealistic picture of life and an unrealistic picture of the world. And when he has to go out into the real world and has to deal with the world as it's made for men and has to deal with the way the life works for men, that's where these men wind up short-circuiting and malfunctioning, and they wind up becoming frustrated and angry. And as they become frustrated and angry, they simmer and boil in anger until they wind up exploding in a rage. And as they explode in this rage, they look to hurt innocent people. And that's sadly what happened here with Sade Robinson. This innocent girl who was just looking to go out on a date wound up suffering as related to this entire incident. And she suffered sadly as a result of this incident. Sadly because she possibly got mesmerized by this white man who she was taught to deify and worship by social engineering of Madison Avenue in Hollywood, and now is dealing with a devil. And again, this demon basically allegedly took this girl's life and is one of these guys who will pay for taking that girl's life when he possibly goes to the penitentiary for the rest of his life, where he will be dealing with people who can fight him back, like the COs, as related to the rules of the penitentiary, and will have to deal with the social hierarchy of the prison with Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles. And they definitely gonna wind up breaking this man down as they go in the torture chamber and they go one-on-one, and he won't be the remainder as they trade him for Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Crystal Light lemonade, packets of Crystal Light tea, Taster's Choice coffee, off-brand fruit punch, off-brand grape drink, off-brand orange drink, off-brand pineapple drink, off-brand Oreo cookies, off-brand duplex cookies, off-brand vanilla wafers, off-brand ginger snaps, Hunt snack pack puddings, Fritos chips, marshmallow balls, Snyder's pretzels. I mean, they gonna be trading this dude for all of the commissary as they turn that tight end into a wide receiver. And as they're turning that tight end into a wide receiver, as they go into the front side and the back side and spit roast this dude, they are going to wind up wearing that backside and front side out as Mr. Sprinkles comes in and sprays the special sauce all over the front side and the backside, then splits them cheeks open and shows the backside looking like the inside of a glazed donut, and that will be the justice served on this bottom shelf Brad as he's dropped to the bottom of the pecking order in the prison and turned completely out. That's what's going to happen to this bottom shelf Brad. And this bottom shelf Brad basically is what happens when you don't do your due diligence on a guy when you're out here in the dating scene, because again, you always ask the critical question, why is this guy out here? I mean, why was this guy out here again? Because that's what many sisters need to do, and it's this due diligence that they don't do that puts them in jeopardy again. And this is what this girl did because she was spellbound, because she thought she had a winner with this bottom shelf Brad, but this bottom shelf Brad showed us the dangers of dealing with the guys at the bottom of the swirling pool, because what's swirling at the bottom of the swirling pool is sewage, and in that sewage are not quality men, but a whole group of men in crisis, and those men in crisis can put you in a crisis if you don't understand the clear and present danger that's standing in front of you. Now, if you want to learn why males like this wind up participating in their dysfunctional and violent behavior, and what leads to them being motivated to behave the way they do, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also pick up The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and Target. And if you want to learn why so many black women get caught up in situations with these kinds of white male predators, you can pick up my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find it at all the other digital online booksellers like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and Target. And if you want to learn how to break out of the spellbound mindset that has a lot of black girls getting caught up to the point where they want to fit into this black box that makes them acceptable to white people and look to white validation and approval that puts them in danger, you can pick up my novel Spellbound on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And you can also find Spellbound at all the other online booksellers that I mentioned. And if you want to see me make more videos about the Man Crisis and the Season of the Simp, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.
Now available for the first time in paperback, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. Learn all the reasons why so many black women can't find a husband and why 70% of black women are single. Get your copy of Why 70% of Black Women Are Single on Amazon.com today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.